Speaker, to the honourable member, I would encourage him to stand in this place and to apologize to all Canadians who, through the course of this pandemic, did the right thing, who still worked but worked virtually, to students. Excuse me, I continue to be heckled because they can't stand, they give it, but they can't take it. Mr. Speaker, to all those students, all those employees who went to work virtually over the course of the pandemic, doctors, nurses who still saw their patients, and the Conservatives to stand here today.
Order. I'm having trouble hearing, so I'll let the member for Pickering-Uxbridge to finish up her question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. So will the Conservatives stand in their place, apologize for accusing Canadians for not working throughout the pandemic when they went to work virtually, when they went to school virtually, and did the right thing to keep Canadians safe? Is he going to apologize?
The honourable member for Regina Louvain.
Mr. Speaker, obviously she thinks the media is here because there's the feigned hypocrisy of a Liberal. Oh, will you apologize? I'm standing up for people that want to see us work here. I know people work virtually. You all work virtually. What I'm saying is there's some people that can't. There's some people that have the ability, that have to get up and go to work every day, that don't have the opportunity to do it virtually. And what I'm saying, Mr. Speaker, is I'm standing up for ranchers, oil and gas people that have to go to work, put their boots on every morning and go to work. That people that they don't respect, they hate what we do in Western Canada, and every time they get on their high horse, it must be because of media up there, and they feign their hypocrisy, and then they rub shoulders with their global elites in Glasgow and make sure that they look down their nose at all of us. So I'm standing up for the people of Regina Louvain, and I have no need to apologize for that, Mr. Speaker.
Issues that need to be addressed here. We have all struggled through poor audio, poor video, intermittent connectivity, MPs embarrassing themselves, that seem to usually be on the government side, on screen, missed votes, overzealous use of the mute button, and straining of resources in both the House and in committee. That's enough. I urge my fellow parliamentarians not to give unto ourselves special accommodations not afforded to millions of workers in this country, not to choose comfort over solemn duty. If we can send 276 delegates to COP26, the most in the G7, we can buck up and have 338 MPs in this House of Commons.
In this House, it's been a mere few days for me as a newly elected member, and I was sent to this place to get to work, and not the debate, the desire to hide in a basement. It was hugs on the other side on a Monday, and we are debating hiding by Thursday. How is it that the Prime Minister can call an election, can crisscross the country, can campaign in hospitals, can gallivant around Scotland with a delegation of hundreds at COP26? Why is it that 18,000 people can go see our Toronto Raptors win? And the government can't agree to have 338 members in the House. How does the new member explain this to the good people of Ottawa Nepean who sent her here?
Awesome.
The honourable member for Ottawa West Nepean.
Mr. Speaker, I've been in this House for 6 years, and I know that members in this House work hard every day. I find it both insulting and disingenuous that the member opposite would accuse any of us of wanting to hide in basements simply because we want to maintain.
Congratulate the finance minister on her flip-flop today. She had said that deflation was a bigger risk to Canada than inflation. Now that Canada has the second highest inflation rate in the G7, higher than the Eurozone and higher than most of our competitors, and the second most housing inflation of any country on earth, she has admitted that we have, quote, an inflation crisis. Congratulations for finally waking up to that. Will she acknowledge that this inflation is in fact a homegrown problem?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I know that Canadians understand that inflation is a global phenomenon, and here are some numbers to back that up. Inflation in Canada in October was 4.7%. In the United States, it was 6.2%. In Mexico, 6.2%. In New Zealand, 4.9%. The G20 average is 4.6%, and the OECD average is 4.6%. This is a serious global challenge, not a made-in-Canada problem.
Full member for Carleton.
Let's just see about that. You know, land doesn't have a global supply chain. It was supplied by geological factors many millions of years ago. And yet, land prices in Canada have gone up by 20% in 1 year, giving Canada the second highest real estate inflation on planet Earth, ahead of every other nation on Earth except for New Zealand. A phenomenon that really kicked off after this finance minister began flooding markets with cheap cash and ballooning prices. Isn't that a homegrown problem?
The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, the Conservatives may not want to listen to me about inflation, but I suspect they read the National Post. So let me quote what a Post columnist had to say this week. Inflation is a global phenomenon. It is being influenced by external factors like supply kinks and global bond yields. The National Post was likewise unimpressed by the antics of the member for Carleton, describing him as charging out of his corner arms windmilling. I suspect that will be the judgment of most Canadians, including the conservative readers of the National Post.
The Honourable Member for Carleton.
Well, it would be impossible to listen to what she has to say about inflation because before today she hadn't even mentioned the word. She suggested that we would have deflation. And as for the claims of her liberal media friends, they are disproven by the facts that countries all over the world, including 5 of the other 6 G7 countries, have lower inflation than Canada.
That's right.
And every country on Earth has less housing inflation than Canada, except one. So given that we're doing so much worse than our competitors, will she finally admit it's a homegrown problem?
That's right. The Honourable Deputy Prime Minister.
You know, Mr. Speaker, I want to address one of the assertions of the party opposite, which is that our spending during the COVID recession was inappropriate. And I want to ask them to be honest with Canadians, and I want them to tell Canadians whether they really believe that COVID lockdowns were the time for austerity. Canadians know that supporting them during the COVID recession was the right thing to do, and they know better than to trust Conservatives to have their backs during the crisis.
The Honourable Member for Rempel.